Hello, my name is Adam. I go to a high school in Florida, and I'm 16 years old. It was on a certain day, March 18th to be exact, when the odd behavior started. It was a Monday, and I had just gotten home from school. I got into my computer, as I usually do every day when I get home. I went into Google Chrome, and I typed in scary stories into the URL bar, then searched it. I was bored and needed a good scare. I clicked on one of the links, of which the title was Save Me, in all capitals. I was interested and began reading. Of course, there was no story. There was only a grotesque picture of a half-decayed carcass, with a dull meat cleaver in its hand. Under the picture was a caption which read, "You shouldn't have looked." I rolled my eyes, but swallowed, startled by the picture. It was enough to gag over. The photo, I mean. Its flesh was frayed, and it looked as if it had been sewn back on, none too neatly. Its fingers were long and curved, almost like claws made of skin. The worst part was its grin and its eyes. That thing's jagged, sharp row of yellow teeth were curved outwards, as if someone had pulled its cheeks while it were grinning, and it had stayed like that. Its eyes, they were silver at first, but when you looked close, they looked like a bloodshot, very light silvery red. Of course, its whole face seemed to be plastered in what looked like rubber. It had many sets of bird wings stitched to its neck and shoulders, all of which were splattered with blood and looked as if they had been burnt at the tips. At the top of the page I read, "Bird Killer." Immediately being disturbed, I closed Chrome and walked away from my computer. The next day, when driving to school in an old pickup truck given to me by my father, I saw something flicker out of the corner of my eyes. I turned my head to look, but saw nothing. I skidded to a stop in the car, almost running into a man crossing the street. The man looked thin and wore a black sweater, which draped over his head, shadowing his face from my view. I shrugged it off and continued driving. I had hung out at a friend's house that day till around, say, 8:30 p.m. I was driving back home. On the side of the street, I saw the same man from the road earlier, but this time he was crouching in front of a little girl who looked 6 years old. I turned my head away, not really caring at first. I got home and frowned. Something felt off. My mother walked into my room several minutes later, asking if I knew where my little sister Anna was. I said I didn't know, but with a jolting realization, I jumped up. The man from earlier was with my sister. I ran from the house, not answering the frantic questions of my mother. I found Anna, walking back with a dead bird in her hands, a big smile on her face. I ran to her, looking her over. Carefully picking up the bird with a nearby large convenient leaf, I threw it. "Are you okay?" I asked her softly as she pouted, staring at the bird that I had thrown. "Yes, but why'd you throw my present? Mr. Birdie gave him to me," she huffed, stomping back to the house. I stood there for a few long moments, jaws clamped together. Who was this damn person, and why did he give my little sister a frickin' dead bird? I told my mother about it, but she told me I was exaggerating and continued making dinner. When I went to bed, I couldn't sleep. I stared up at my ceiling, still deep in thought. My monitor on my computer flickered on, and I suddenly sat up, glaring at the screen. I flinched as soon as I saw it. The picture from earlier was on it, except only the man's face was zoomed in. His grin huge as ever. His lifeless, chilling eyes stared blankly at me. I heard an odd thumping sound coming from behind the door. I got up slowly, taking a deep breath. I opened the door a crack, peering through the slit in between the door and the wall. A black figure stood in the far corner of the room, his black sweatshirt easy to see in the low moonlight flooding through the window. My palms clammy and sweating, I slowly stepped out of my room. The figure's head instantly darted up, revealing wide, silvery red eyes and a huge grin of pointed teeth. Blood dripped from behind his rubber-like covered face, leaving a small trail on the floor as it stared up. I flinched, taking a step back. It took a staggering step forward, body convulsing and twitching oddly. I ran the opposite way into the kitchen and grabbed the biggest butcher knife we had. I was confused. Why hadn't any of my family woken up by now? When I turned back around to defend myself from that monster, he was only 2 feet away, still grinning that horrifying grin of his. I gagged. I could smell the stench of decay and blood by now, coming off in heavy waves from his body. I ran to my room, where several black birds awaited me. Their wings were sewn onto their bodies. That much was easy to tell, from the loose threading and blood streaming from their feathers. I swung my knife at both of them, killing them before they could hit me. I locked my door and put my chair against it, closing the blinds, locking the window as well, and then turning on every light in the room that I could. I'm now on my computer. Please, help me. I can't escape him now. I can hear him coming down the hall. He's banging on my door. It's breaking. Please, if anyone could just help. He's almost in. Help! Don't look out your window.